Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are here. How you doing, Matt?
I am pretty good, so yourself?
I'm alright, yeah, I'm alright. I wish I had more positive things to say about films today, but can't be helped. I've watched what I watched. We're both seeing Dune this weekend, so we'll have that review in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, how are you?
Fingers crossed and all that.
Yeah.
Toes and everything.
I reckon it'll be alright.
I think even if I don't like it that much, I think I will at least appreciate it.
It's not going to be trash. Like it's Villeneuve. It will look amazing. It will no doubt sound amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I have a love for Dune, so I'm interested as to how they adapt it and what they do with the adaptation. I have no doubt that it's going to be a visual spectacle. There's a reason that I'm paying money to go to the cinema and see it.
Same here, yeah.
You know, so we'll see on that. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'm more interested in the adaptation of it than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. But anyway, films we have seen. Matt, what have you watched?
Well, I'll start with The Show.
The Show, yes. So I didn't even know what this was. So tell me all about The Show.
This stars Tom Burke, Ellie Bamber, Antonia Campbell-Hughes, Christopher Fairbank, Richard Delane, and it's directed by Mitch Jennings, and it's written by Alan Moore.
Yeah.
So there's the thing that obviously attracted me
to it. Piqued your interest, yeah.
So he's Moore and Mitch Jennings have previously done a number of shorts. There's one called Showpieces, which I think is an anthology. There's Acts of Faith, and then there's Jimmy's End. I've only seen Jimmy's End, and they're all linked. They're all set in his beloved Northampton.
Right.
So if you know anything about Moore, then you know that he's sort of not vaguely. He's sort of obsessed with his own hometown.
And why not? Why not?
Exactly.
You know,
I
that's
wish
nice.
I had as much
exactly.
That's my hometown as he does in his.
Yeah.
So yes, Jimmy's End is this nightclub in it's a fictional nightclub in Northampton that takes place in. There's also turns up in this. So this movie we've got Tom Burke is Fletcher Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
Who has appeared turns up in Northampton he's an assassin. He's there to kill someone.
Right.
When he gets there, he discovers that the person that's been sent to kill is already dead. Apparently he had a tumble at a nightclub and caved his head in, basically.
Dude, take the credit.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, look how good I am.
He doesn't. He says he phones up his client, who's this like apparently a notorious sort of London hired man,
right?
Played by Christopher Fairbank, who has always. I mean, he always looks the same. He's always played complete villains. I mean, he even turns up in Guardians of the Galaxy. He was in Fifth Element. He was in Alien 3. He's even like the first. He's the first guy that Batman beats up in the '89 Batman.
Yes, he is. Of course, yeah.
So he's the guy who hires him, and he says that he wants also recovered from the body a gold Rosicrucian cross. He says that this guy basically beat up his daughter.
Oh.
And stole the cross from her. So he says, no problem, I will go and find it. So he then goes off and searches for this cross, and along the way he meets a complete assortment of Alan Moore characters. So there's he goes to hire a detective. He sees this advertisement for a detective agency. So he goes to this detective agency, and it's two teenage boys, and I love it. But he goes to see to this house, And the woman who answers the door is this like housewife, sort of weird looking housewife, and she says, "Oh yes, it's in the back." Goes out the back, and he goes at the back, and there's this like ramshackled shed sort of thing. And he goes in, and there's this girl as a receptionist, and she says, "Oh, there's a client for you," and all that sort of stuff. And he's like, "This is fucking weird." And when he goes into the office, it turns black and white, and there are these two kids sat there in 1940s clothes and hats, and they're talking to him with full voiceover. They're providing their own voiceover, like a noir movie.
This absolutely sounds like Alan Moore.
Yes, and he almost walks out, but that one of them says something that persuades him to stay.
Dude, if everything turned black and white, I'd be going to the doctors immediately. I'd just be like, I think something's wrong.
Basically, he then through a series of sort of misadventures. There's a woman that called oh no, where is it? Faith. So Faith. So the guy he was initially looking for to kill this James Mitchum. Him and this other character, Faith, they were admitted into the hospital at the same time. She basically had an auto asphyxia accident.
Right.
And obviously he had his accident in the thing. Mm-hmm. But when she was she's basically got into a coma, but before the guy died, he said, "Where's Faith?" And that's her name. Right. So they're weirdly linked, and he's trying to find out why they're weirdly linked. And her and the guy he's looking for previously appeared in these other shorts. So Jimmy's End is about what happened to James, and I haven't seen Acts of Faith, but I know that's about her and her incident.
Okay.
So I don't think I wouldn't say you need to see them.
No.
But I'm guessing that it probably helps. I mean, I've seen Jimmy's End, and it does help to know what happened to.
Yeah, I guess it adds extra context.
And then it's all linked to these two dead comedians from the 70s. There was this nightclub called Jimmy's End Working Men's Club, which burnt down in the 70s, and it was owned by these two comedians, Matterton and Matchbook, I think it is, and they Matchbright, and they basically were kind of like Pete and Dud comedians. It sounds like they started off with sort of vaudeville type act, and then they did TV shows and weird movies, and then the Frank Matterton, who is played by Alan Moore, got into the occult and stuff, and then they got this club, and everybody died in this fire.
Right.
But Faith had this dream that she was there. She was in this club with all these weird people and stuff. So you get all these like dream sequences where they're in this nightclub, and I don't know whether you've seen the picture of Alan Moore as Frank Matterton, but he's got this.
Yeah.
He's got a full moon head, half moon head, and I think the problem with this movie is it very much depends on whether you like Alan Moore or not.
I mean, that like literally, I just said like your description is like that's very Alan Moore, and I think that's fine. You know, it's like if you go and watch a Spike Lee movie, you know you're going to get Spike Lee, and if you're not a fan of Spike Lee, you're probably not going to like the movie. So I happen to like Alan Moore, so this sounds pretty cool.
It's surreal. It's got, clue. I mean, he even says it. One of the characters even says, I think it might actually be him. One of the characters says, make sure you look in the background. There's always details in the background and stuff. And there's a line when he meets Frank Matterton about he's got plot, and he talks about plot and schemes and things, and it's like, okay, that's so fucking Alan Moore.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it just couldn't be more Alan Moore. So it's like I said, it really does depend on whether you like Alan Moore or not, and also whether you can whether you like sort of, I mean, it's very Lynchian. It's got that Lynch sort of, what's going on quality, and it, some things will not be answered, some things will be, some things, evolve nicely, some things you can see coming. But I liked it. I really enjoyed it, and I mean, like I said, it helps because I'm a massive Alan Moore fan. But I think Tom Burke is great. I like Tom Burke. He's a great actor. He was previously he'd done almost playing a similar character in Strike, which is Cormoran Strike series, which is where he plays a detective, which is a series of books written by J.K. Rowling.
Oh, okay.
So some of her adult books, and the series I really like. He plays this veteran who basically becomes he's the son of a rock star that was a veteran that is like he's a one-legged veteran that became a detective in London, and they're really good, and he's brilliant, and he's sort of playing a similar character but slightly different. The other characters are varying quality. Some of the actors aren't great, but it's a very low budget movie, and it's it's kind of what you sort of come to expect.
Yeah. I mean,
You've even got a masked vigilante character who is...
Yes, he's on the poster. Yeah,
he's watching proceedings as they go along, and when it all sort of kind of comes together at the end, you see his involvement and stuff. I really enjoyed it. It's fun. It made me laugh, and it's full of brilliant, interesting characters.
Yeah,
and like for the majority of it, it's nice. It's pretty well acted, nicely shot. There's a great sweeping sort of soundtrack as they come in, as the film opens with a sort of shots of Northampton, sort of as they're sort of coming along, and it's great. And there's even things I didn't really sort of notice until later.
Right.
So the main character, he wears a red and black top, stripy top, and he's got spiky hair, and is it no, I don't think it's really spoiling anything, but he kills people with a slingshot.
Okay.
And his last name is Dennis.
Right.
And it was like, okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I didn't get it until the end. It's like, I kept looking at his hair and his jumper and thinking, I'm sure that's a reference to something, but I can't think what it is.
Is it Freddy Krueger?
Yeah, exactly. Weirdly, that was my first thought.
Oh.
This could be Freddy, is it? It seems too weird to be Freddy. And then at the end, it was like, oh God, I'm such an idiot.
It's like staring you in the face the whole time.
Yeah, which I think was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny.
Really enjoyed it, and I think it's a nicely made movie. It's even got little tunes by Moore himself, who sort of sings this little ditty in this sort of vaudeville style. It's a complete, and I completely understand why people wouldn't like it. Like
sure.
I said, it's very Lynchian, it's very Alan Moore, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's a nice movie, and I'm going to try and track down the other showpieces and acts of faith to go with it.
Yeah, it'd be good to get that extra context, I guess.
So thoroughly enjoyed it. Recommend it to any fan of Lynchian movies and Alan Moore.
Yeah, well, yeah. So the show, highly, highly recommended. I don't know. Do you want to talk about Night Teeth? Should we do that next? Why not? Let's talk about Night Teeth, a film that we've both watched this week, and the first of my 2 films starring people that are barely in the fucking movie. Because this movie, it was all like, hey, starring Megan Fox. It's like, well, she's in it for I think she's in it the exact length of the trailer. It's just like the same amount of time.
Like maybe a couple of seconds more.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe a couple of seconds more. So yes,
I mean the other woman that's in that bit as well. I don't know her, but I'm from what I've heard, she's another person that people have like.
Okay. So it was like these were the hooks for the movie, but they're not really in it. So yes, Night Teeth, directed by Adam Randall, written by Brent Dillon, and Yeah, well, I obviously, briefly, vampires, they're real, and all the cliches are present. There is a truce between mankind and vampires, and the truce is like sort of an uneasy truce, and they only suck on willing participants, I think was the deal, wasn't it? And in certain areas of the city, and that's kind of the setup that there's been, but now
there seems to be a massively uneven part of the city as well. It's like one small square of the city, and you think, okay, so okay, we'll get into that in a minute.
No, that's fine. I was just kind of thinking like of an overview, and it's so there's this uneasy truce. And we're kind of thrust into this vampiric war of power. It's like a power war going on, brewing throughout the film. A vampire is trying to seize power and change the dynamic between humans and vampires. And in amongst all of this is Benny, who is the brother of Jay, who was supposed to be the chauffeur for these two girls who turn out to be vampires. That's not really a spoiler. It's kind of the central point of the movie. Called Blair and Zoe. He was supposed to be driving them around to various LA nightclubs, but Jay has other things to do. So Benny says, hey, I can do it. And reluctantly, Jay agrees to let Benny do it, and basically says, look, just do what they say, and don't get the car damaged or anything, and off you go. So he's completely unaware, and obviously as the movie goes on, he becomes aware, and you know, this situation is strange, and obviously he then discovers that they're vampires, and it's basically like a shitter Collateral, but with vampires. That's, you know, kind of.
Weird,
like in its most basic way, like it's someone driving people around that are doing horrendous things.
Basically, that's
from location to location.
It's also like a shitter World of Darkness, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, this movie's got all the cliches, and it's weird because it kind of opens to say like, hey, you know, people have written about us in films and mythology and media, and some of those things are wrong, but then all of the things are right, and there's not really anything that's wrong.
They've got reflections, I think, is the only one.
That is the only one, is that she has a reflection. That was it. Other than that, it's not like someone tries garlic on them at some point and they're like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, none of that happens. It's just like, okay. So I'm curious, what did you think of Night Teeth?
I actually thought the main character, was it Jorg? I'm going to screw this up.
Jorg Lendeborg? Yeah.
I thought he was charming.
I really liked him, yeah.
I really liked him. I thought he was a charming character. He was very well acted. He previously had seen him in Bumblebee. I thought he was kind of playing the same character. Actually.
Yeah, he kind of is. I'm a bit worried he might be a bit typecast at the moment, but he's fine in the role. I thought, But
I thought he was lovely. He was charming. The two girls, I thought Zoe was pretty awful.
Right.
I mean, she is supposed to be the like the mean.
Yeah, one. I mean, she for me, this is insulting, and she's not this bad. Okay, she's not as bad as this, but similar. She reminded me of that insufferable fucking woman from Blade 3, the villain.
Posey Parker.
Yeah, that villain. She's very similar in the way she behaves, like that, ridiculously over the top in places, just like evil. You know, like cackling evil in some ways.
The weird thing is there were times when she tries to sort of.
When she tones it down, it works.
The Blair character. Even though I didn't really feel the chemistry between her and Benny.
No, it feels a little forced, if I'm honest.
She was slightly better as the sort of slightly more sympathetic vampire, and there are times when Zoe is appealing to Blair on a sort of, you know, a love sort of thing, and she turns out. But the problem is that because she's so over the top most of the time, you don't quite buy it enough.
No, there's a scene in the movie in which Blair is talking to Benny about how she was turned, and kind of explains her love for Zoe and everything Zoe did for her and why they have this relationship, and it's fine. The scene's acted fine, but because of the way Zoe acts throughout the movie, it just doesn't work. It's like I don't care. Like, I'm not going to have sympathy for Zoe now at any point of this movie because of the way she's been acting throughout. Them aside, I think the cast for the most part's okay. I agree on the two vampire girls, and that's the main problem because we are stuck with them for the movie. So and
I think the brother is pretty good. Annoyingly, they never really. I think one of the things that really annoyed me was they got the brother and they set up that he is kind of in control of this area. But they never really explain why.
Nope.
What he's in control of, how he's in control of anything. It kind of just seems like he's a sort of gangbanger, which
I was a little confused as well.
Make sense with what they've set. It's like, okay, but they don't do a very good job of setting the world up properly.
And it's kind of
in regards to the the vampires. Fine, you completely understand them. They've got power. They're hidden away most of the time. They're the faceless, puppeteers. Fine, that's easy to set up. You're fine with that. But they didn't explain the
relationship. Like Jay, I think he's like part of a secret council, isn't he? And he's like basically he's there to maintain the peace between vampires and humans, but they don't really touch on it. And then there's a scene in the movie where Jay goes after the head vampire. I forget his name. Victor? The most obvious vampire name.
Alfie Allen in villain mode again.
Yeah, and I like Alfie Allen.
Alfie Allen has come a long way from his sister singing about him just smoking, staying in his room, hasn't he?
He pulls off over the top vampire with obvious vampire name.
I mean, he's got. The thing is, it doesn't give him much to do other than that.
No, he's just hamming it up, and that's fine.
Well.
Yeah, he does. But there is a particular scene where Jay goes to meet Victor. And it's like, dude, if you're part of this human council and you're maintaining the peace between the vampires and the humans and you presumably know the weaknesses of the vampires, you approach this entire situation like a complete dumbass. Mm-hmm. Like, why did you get that close to him? Why did you let him get into that position? Like, I'll shoot him in the head, that'll work, and then I'll try and stab him. No. Like, no, that's not going to work.
They set up in the initial opening when he turns up, his people have been killed. Some of his people have been killed. They don't say who those people are. They just say, it's his people. And they take his girlfriend gets kidnapped. And he goes to that place, obviously, because she's got his girlfriend. But like you just said, it's like he doesn't set anything up. He just goes there like an idiot, and he does something completely stupid. And you're like, well, what? I don't get what you're trying to set up here. You've done a terrible world building here.
Well, the thing is, it's like he's there to maintain the peace. Victor is doing a massive power grab. He's trying to off all the other vampire factions effectively so that he can head up the whole thing and change the way everything works. So if you got to keep the peace, mate.
Usually in these things, he wants to go back to the good old days when we just munched on humans.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, so Jay, if you need to keep the peace, mate, use one of those crossbows and shoot the guy in the back of the head. As soon as you see him, just shoot him dead.
The other thing is, this other group turns up. They're like vampire hunters that just want to kill vampires. And
they're not fleshed out either. They're just there.
They just turn up from time to time with crossbows, and which I love the effect of the bolts being fired. I thought that was quite cool.
I will say I didn't entirely hate this film.
No, I didn't either.
I saw
think that the fight scenes really
yeah.
fucking annoyed me that they kept pulling away from them.
Mm-hmm.
You'd start a fight scene and then it would be, oh, we're going outside now while the fight scene continues in the background. You're like,
yeah, and then someone will get thrown through a window. You know, oh, great,
yeah,
thanks.
The fuck?
Yeah. I don't know whether that was just budgetary or
yeah, I presume it was as well. But they could have done. You know, there's only one proper fight scene that you see in one of the nightclubs.
Yeah,
and again, you're focusing on the Benny character,
who's on the floor most of the time in that fight.
Well, he's in that part. He's just stood there, and it's going on around.
Oh yes, when he's just frozen. Yes, yeah. But things are, you know, it's the most generic paint by numbers vampire underworld story. I think it's mostly watchable because of Jorg, if that's how you pronounce his name. He's charming. I loved his character. Like you said, it's not a character. It's a character he's played before. But I enjoyed the character enough to keep me watching. And I was like, I feel a bit sorry for Benny.
It was nice that they I mean, not to be that guy, but it was nice that the heroes were Hispanics.
Yeah, no, totally. You know, why not?
That I thought was great because, you know, it set that up a little bit, or you know, it kind of set up his family.
I loved his grandmother as well.
His grandmother was great.
The bit when she's there with the baseball bat was awesome.
When he comes out, yeah, it's brilliant.
That was good. So yeah, it's not like I don't want to say this is an awful film. It's very middle of the road. It's reasonably well directed, apart from the fight scenes.
Middle of the road. I mean, the music, the soundtrack for the most part is fucking awful, but that is personal preference.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's because I don't like that music.
This feels like a film that should have come out in like 2002, and then all of this film would have made way more sense. You know, like it just kind of feels like it belongs around the underworld kind of times. Yeah. You know, underworld is a step up on this, obviously, but
I mean, it also makes me wish they would just do a World of Darkness series.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, they did. I know they've done it. They did it in the past, and it was terrible. And I'm not even sure it lasted.
Well, yeah, but maybe rather than remaking good things, we should remake bad things and fix them.
Remake that because that.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, if you pulled that off, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. And I think maybe if this would have been a series as well, they would have set up it better, and you could have.
Yeah, like a mini series, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, there was a couple of dips in the movie where it, you know, it's not that it felt long or anything, but there was a couple of dips when they're sort of driving around that you think, okay, can we just fucking speed this up and get where we're going so that we can. You know,
we get this
on with something.
Yeah, and there's like bizarre things, like you said, they cut away from so much, and it's like we finally get to meet Megan Fox's character and her friend, and they seem like they're like one of the heads of the houses, I guess. They're one of the lead vampires.
I think it's is it something like there are 5 boroughs
like that
controlled by a vampire head.
Yes,
and
she's
I'm guessing she's like the Hills.
Yeah.
Vampire boss.
Yes,
she controls all the poshos.
Yeah, she's up in the Hollywood Hills or something. Is she though? You know, and like you said, it's weird because you get to that and they big her up. They like her and her. Like I was like, oh okay. Like, she's going to kick his ass here, and that's props, like, you know.
For me, props to see Megan Fox with fangs. Fine,
sure.
You know, that does it for me.
But then she gets killed off screen.
Yeah.
Don't see any of it. And to the point that I was like, for a while, I was like, I'm guessing she's going to come back, right? They've not just killed her off, and now but I was like, no, she's gone. She's just gone.
Yeah.
Like, you know. And I know that's a bit of a spoiler, but honestly, if you're watching this movie for Megan Fox, don't. Because I mean, you know, just throwing that out there.
I mean, if you want to see a Megan Fox, see the one I reviewed the other week, which was much better. But,
yeah.
I mean, there's a bits with that. It's like, okay, so I presume they're elder. I mean, this is vampire lore stuff here that I'm just bitching about. But it's like, I presume they're elders. Why can't they hold their own? There were 2 of them.
I was confused by that. It was like, He's killed their security.
Yeah.
But there's still two of them, and they're massively powerful. And like, I was like, how did he do that? I wanted to see how he did that, because I honestly thought in that scene, honestly thought in that scene there was going to be a moment afterwards where she'd turn back up and be like, "You didn't really think it would be that easy to kill me, did you?"
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
But yeah, it's weird. You never see it. It's just,
and I think they kind of imply that he is when try not to spoil anything really, but it's not much to spoil. When
you've probably you've probably written this story in your head already just by listening to us talk about it.
When Jay shoots him in the restaurant,
yeah,
I think that kind of implies that he's
special.
Not just a normal vampire. Because I kind of got the impression that if you did that to a normal vampire, they'd probably die.
Yeah, I want to know where the vampires keep their brains, because you'd think he keeps talking. Well, this holes for his brain, and you're like, how does that work?
He doesn't go, ow, and like wait for his brain to catch up.
No, he's just keeping a conversation.
I think it would have been funnier.
It would have been, yeah.
No, I think it kind of implies that he's more powerful than the others.
But again,
for some reason,
you need to set that up.
Why?
Early.
They don't explain how.
No.
He just is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's also implied that he's not exactly a lackey, but he's middle. I think they do say he's like middle management, isn't he? At one point.
Yeah, I think Megan Fox's character kind of makes fun of him for that.
Middle management,
because they're very much like
not as old as they are.
No, because they're very much like know your fucking place, like
exactly. But yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just wishing for silly things, but it would have been nice if they explained why he was powerful, how he was able to do this.
But like you said, the setup's just not there with this movie. It's like,
no,
there might be something interesting in that, but we'd never get to see it.
No.
And I
did enjoy it. It was.
I didn't. I was gonna say I was entertained. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't ever sort of think, oh God, when is this movie over? That's
no.
But, so it was, there's some nice stuff to enjoy. I did like the when they've come out of the nightclub and they're making their escape. I did kind of like the Zoe hanging out of the window screaming at the
Oh, she was very lucky that someone didn't shoot her in the face, though.
Completely, but I did think that was funny.
It was quite funny, yeah. And it shows that she's unhinged.
If you're a psychotic vampire, then probably you're going to bait them like that, aren't you? And you're not going to give a fuck.
Yeah,
so
sure.
At least I did quite like that scene. And yeah, I mean, there was some stuff to like, but there was so many things that you just think, oh God, let's see the fights. Let's just set it up a little bit better. I think maybe that's what the problem is that you can see stuff, that little gleams that it could, as I say in these things, there's a little gleam that it could have been something better.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some moments. I really enjoyed the bit outside the nightclub when his friends start taking the piss out of him, and she comes up and just makes him look like absolute fools, just makes him look amazing. That was quite funny. There are some moments. It's not a terrible movie. It's just the most generic middle of the road vampire movie I've seen in a long time. It's not terrible. Just not very good.
The movie I saw the week before, the one on Amazon. I forget what it's called.
The plain one, the Blood Red Sky.
Black Knight.
Oh yeah.
That I think that was slightly better. I think the acting in that was worse.
Right.
On the whole.
But plot wise, yeah.
But yeah, I think again, it's just it's fine. It's an okay movie.
It's fine. It's very middle of the road. If you're looking to pass, it goes pretty quickly. If you want to pass like an hour and a half of your life, it's fine. And
like we said, the main actor, he was great. He is great. It's a nice performance. He's charming as fuck. So he totally carries the movie.
Yeah, he really does. I must admit, without him, different person playing that character, I might not have stuck around till the end, to be honest. But with him, it was fine.
And I'm I'd be happy to watch him in almost anything else. Actually,
absolutely. I think he's great.
He can stretch himself.
Yeah, let's see a different performance. Show us some range, because like you said, he's very similar to other characters he's played. But yeah, overall, it might be worth a watch if you want a bit of fun.
Yeah,
if
it's not the worst vampire movie I've ever seen. So that
absolutely not. No.
So that it's a middling vampire movie.
Yeah. So, what else have you watched, Matt?
What did you want to do? What you've seen then?
It's up to you. You can do another one if you want. I don't mind.
Okay. Well, I'll go with The Manor.
The Manor.
So this is the I'm gonna do I think it's Madre. I'm gonna do that as well. Not yet. Afterwards, because I watched the final two Blumhouse movies.
Oh yeah, do them both in a row if you want, if that makes sense.
No, I won't do them together. We'll break it up.
Okay.
But I'll do the first. So I'll do The Manor first. So we've got The Manor, directed by Axel Carolyn. I think that's Axeli.
I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me.
Axel Carolyn, starring Barbara Hershey, Bruce Davison, which is great. I love Bruce Davison. Nicholas Alexander, Jill Larson, and Fran Bennett. So this is Barbara Hershey plays Judith, who is I think she used to be a dancer and now she teaches children, but she has a stroke, and she then basically says, okay, I obviously I need help,
sure.
So I'm gonna move myself into a home. And her mother is like, okay, fine, off you go. But her grandson is like, no, don't do this. You shouldn't do this. This is a terrible idea. Stay here with us. Let us look after you. But the mother's like, no, it's fine. Let her go. So she goes to this sort of almost gothic looking manor house, which is this old people's home, and she signs into this place, and when she's there, the staff are like, oh, okay, we're taking your phone off of you because you signed this form where you're not allowed outside without an escort, and it's just like it's this awful place. She's moved in with this woman who is clearly petrified of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
She's like holding a Bible and she's like muttering to herself, and it's like, okay. So this is a nice place that already. There she keeps seeing a sort of tree-like creature.
Okay.
A sort of a spirit that's like very sort of tree-like, and the doctor says, no, you've got we've done a brain scan, you've got Alzheimer's, it's all in your brain, it's all visions you're having and all this stuff. And from there it spirals into stuff with the residents being picked off and what's going on with certain characters and staff and things like that. Barbara Hershey is fantastic. She's Barbara Hershey. She kind of saves this movie. For the sort of first hour-ish, it's just depressing.
Right. Just seeing this woman unable to care for herself taken into care,
it's really
effectively.
Horrible. And my mum had a stroke a while ago, and this sort of, it was like,
I can imagine, man. Yeah.
This is not a nice sort of thing to sort of like think, but that's that's the way it is. There's a lot of these sort of movies that have characters that not quite sure what's going on to them and I don't think this is as well done as some of the others that I've seen in regards to that. But it was like I said, for the while it's just like, oh god, this is a real bummer of a movie.
Yeah.
As it goes on, I wouldn't say it lightens up, but it once the supernatural stuff properly comes in, it's like, okay, I see where this is going. This is fine. There was stuff that it felt like a episode of Tales from the Crypt.
Okay.
which is fine. It's not a bad thing. Most of the performances are fine. I mean, Bruce Davison is Bruce Davison.
Yeah,
he's playing one of the other residents, slightly sort of like horny resident, which is quite funny. There's a moment where he sort of comes into a room and says, "Should we get on?" sort of thing, and she's like, no. He's like, "Okay, I misread the signs. Off I go," sort of thing. He's like, "Okay." Her only sort of help is her grandson, who at first doesn't believe, thinks, well, the mother completely out and out goes, "Yeah, it's fine, I don't give a fuck, whatever, just, keep her, do whatever you want with her." But the grandson's like, no, I believe you. He sort of like, they find out stuff about what's going on. He notices there's a pagan symbol on one of the things, and all that sort of stuff. It's fine. It's not a great movie. There are a couple of jump scares early on, that are not even great jump scares. They're just, oh, he's at the end of the bed. Oh, he's on the wall. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. Barbara Hershey's watchable. That's why it was. I think if you'd have had a lesser actress in it, it would have been so dull. But because she is such a compelling actress, you're there for her, really. Other performances are fine. The grandkid is all right. It's just middling. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's just a sort of fine horror movie.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Tis the season.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are way better horror movies, I'm sure, that you could find that are out there. But
yeah.
If you want something new and okay, then this is it. It is what it is. It's another one of the Blumhouse sort of movies that's not great or not was. I think so far the other two are better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. It's fine. If you want to, see it for Barbara Hershey's performance, if nothing else.
Sure. Yeah. Well, she's a tremendous actress, so yeah. It could be worth watching just for that. Well, yes, my second film, which I briefly touched on a previous podcast, or at least mentioned that I'd seen it, and is like I said, we're 2 for 2 with movies that aren't starring the people they're meant to be starring. Halloween Kills. Finally got to see Halloween Kills, and I feel very, very, very alone and isolated in my dislike for this movie, because everyone I speak to bloody loves it, and I was like, I hated it. Well, I didn't hate.
I heard someone on a podcast I was watching. I heard someone call this the rise of Skywalker of the Halloween franchise.
Oh wow! So I'm not alone. Okay, maybe it's just my friends group, but I know a lot of avid Halloween fans, so there's that to bear in mind. I said to my friend the other day, I'll watch any old Godzilla movie and just be like, it's fine. So I can't, you like what you like, and I'm glad that people enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed elements of it. It's I think it's well shot for the most part. It looks great. Enjoyed the start of the movie. Starts off quite strong. It follows immediately on from the last movie, Halloween 2016, or was it 16, 17? Same night, it immediately follows on, which is where we get the issue of Laurie Strode is not in this fucking film. She's been stabbed at the end of the movie. She's taken to hospital. She's in the movie about 10 minutes, if that. She's in the hospital, really hurt, and that's the end of that. She's there for a couple of lines of dialogue, and that is it. But we start off with a flashback where we see the night in October 31st, 1978. We see the original scenes play out with some added scenes from this deputy sheriff and a cameo from Dr. Loomis, who I forget who plays him.
They've actually got somebody else to play Loomis.
I thought that they'd done some CGI buggery and put his face on someone else's body. They haven't. They found someone who looks like the spitting image. I'm trying to find his name. Apparently he's a producer of movies and stuff. I think this is his first acting role.
Oh, right. They literally picked someone that looked like...
He just looks the spitting image. And then they got a voice actor to do the voice, so they dubbed the voice.
Tom Jones Jr.
Yep, and he looks exactly like Donald Pleasance did. It's unbelievable.
He looks very Donald Pleasance. That makes sense.
Like, to the point I thought it was CG. I was really impressed with that. So we see that from a different perspective, and then we see basically... the same night that everything went down with Laurie, there's a gathering of all the victims, and Laurie's expected, but she doesn't show up, and obviously we know why. But my God, this movie, even more than the first one, is all about those member berries. If there was any character in the first Halloween movie, no matter how small, they come back in this movie. We get the nurse, who was... pulled out of the car and had her car stolen. She's in this movie. All the kids, no matter how small a part they played in the first movie, they're in this movie. One of the guys who bullied the kid in the first movie, he's in this movie. Like, every single character they could possibly think of is in this movie. And weirdly, like, completely opposed to the first film. So I guess I should say that, actually. I really enjoyed the first one. The first reboot, the 2016, I think I preferred it more than you did, actually, from memory.
Yeah, totally.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it served as a best of. It's certainly because it took... Pretty much, if you watch the kills in Halloween 2016, they've happened throughout the other movies. They just did them kind of better, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of a best of. And I liked that we returned Michael Myers. We got rid of all the supernatural stuff, and we're back to Michael Myers being Michael Myers, just being the shape, the killer. That's more interesting to me. We've got Jason Voorhees for the immortal slasher.
The batshit zombie stuff.
Yeah, right. So I kind of liked that movie for doing that. But there's a lot of... It strikes me that there's a lot of ego involved in rebooting a series and being like, well, those 4 movies, 5 movies, 6 movies were trash. Like, we're going to reboot and only the first one counts. Fine. Yep. And if you pull it off in a movie, cool. And I thought that movie... I thought it pulled it off. I thought it did good. For me, I prefer that over the supernatural stuff. So I was like, cool, that's great. So then we get to Halloween 2, and they undo all of that. Everything. Yeah. This movie is just as fucking stupid as all the Halloween sequels were.
I think that's
we're back to square one, and it's like, why?
When we saw the trailer, we both said, why would you make the first one grounded?
Yeah, or as grounded as these things can be.
One, yeah, well, I say grounded, but make it less supernatural.
Yeah.
And then in the second one, reintroduce stuff that you were getting rid of.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like they've gone out of their way to be like, oh, we're getting rid of those silly movies. And then in their second movie, they've just gone really stupid. And it's like, well, like, fine, but then you might as well have not rebooted it, because you're falling into the same exact traps and problems you had with the previous sequels.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre choice, and not one that sits well with me. I'm not a fan of the supernatural Michael Myers. Like I said, I think there's better supernatural protagonists if we're going that way. I think it's far more scary when it's this silent man, mortal man. But anyway, so this group all learn that Michael's back, and we get this really weird thing where in the first 2016, when I say the first movie, I'm referring to 2016, right? Where in the first movie, No one gave a fuck about Michael Myers. You even get a couple of the characters, I think, even say, like, oh yeah, that guy who stabbed people in the 70s, whatever, who knows.
Yeah.
Everyone in this movie knows who Michael Myers is. Everyone in this movie is obsessed with Michael Myers, and they must stop Michael Myers.
A brother or a
oh
sister,
my god,
or
everyone.
Or a dog.
Yeah, like yeah, those like 3 or 4 people that Michael Myers killed back in 1978. Everyone in this entire town is related to them in some way and really angry about it. So they all learn that Michael Myers is back, and basically mob mentality. Tommy Doyle gets them all. I think it's Tommy Doyle gets them all together, and he's like, right, we're gonna kill Michael Myers. We're going to go find him. We're not having this again in our town. We need to stop the evil. Evil dies tonight. And they say that like 5 million times in this film. Spoiler, doesn't fucking die that night.
I mean, considering they've already got another sequel planned,
well,
which they had,
interestingly,
for like ages.
Well, interestingly, they've changed the sequel, apparently, because the sequel, apparently all of this was meant to happen on the same night, which is why all the way through this movie, they say about 50 billion times that evil will die tonight or evil must die tonight.
Right.
But now the next one's going to be 4 years later. So all of that was for nothing. But anyway, the mob mentality, and they're like, right, we're going to find him. And one thing that I think this film does really nicely is that it is a direct sequel to the last film. It follows on immediately after. There are characters from 2016 who turn up in this film that I wasn't expecting to turn up. I was like, oh, okay, like this is a proper sequel to that film. Because obviously it's like the same night. But so they're all out on their mob hunting, and there's another. This is a minor spoiler. There's another escaped prisoner. As we saw in the first film, the bus crash and all of the prisoners escaped, didn't they? So one of them is also loose in the town, and the mob are after him thinking he's Michael Myers. Because no one's seen Mike Myers without the mask. That could be Mike Myers. Obviously, this man has committed crimes, but is completely innocent of the crime that they think.
Mike Myers, and I keep seeing Austin Powers.
Oh, I know. It's it's a problem. It's either Mike Myers or William or Shatner, right? So, I will spoil this one scene for the sake of making a point here. It's a minor spoiler, but I think it's one of the better scenes in the film. Actually, it might be the best scene in the film. They corner this guy, this guy that they believe is Michael Myers, who is innocent of that, presumably guilty of other crimes. Not doubting that. They corner him in a hospital, and they corner him on both sides. He's in a corridor there on both sides, trying to smash the glass down with this mob mentality of we're going to kill him. Where evil dies tonight. They're chanting it. Laurie's daughter has previously found him and said, look, I know you're innocent. Escape. Like, go. Because like she tries talking sense into Tommy Doyle. He's not listening. No one's listening. And finally, he's cornered, and he ends up committing suicide. He jumps out of the window to his death rather than get killed by this baying mob, right? Great scene. Actually, I thought it was a really good scene. After that, we have this wonderful moment with Tommy Doyle and Laurie Strode's daughter, and he's like, I'm so sorry, we thought it was him, like we got carried away, like we've let the wrong man die. Great, right? Good scene, nice message, I like it. And then Karen, that's her name, Karen turns around to Tommy and she's like, what are you going to do now? And he's like, just keep going on. I've learned nothing. Just going to keep going on with the mob mentality, it's fine. Just killed someone, but fuck it. Who gives a shit? Gonna do it anyway. It's like, okay, so no lesson learned. Like, it was like they were building to a moral message and then just went, fuck it. Okay, so the mob continues, and yeah, so
I've heard people say that it becomes a movie about like the mob.
Well, it should have become a movie about the mob, but it's like a movie with no message. Because they kill the wrong man, and you'd think that would be the point where you would have a lesson learned or something. you've had a witch hunt and you've killed the wrong person, but the characters just brush it off and continue on.
What, you don't get the He-Man speech at the end about mob mentality?
No, shocking. In 2021, mob mentality? No, certainly not. Yes, for me, this felt, I couldn't believe this film is 105 minutes long. I thought it went on for fucking hours. Like, it felt so long. Pacing-wise, this movie dragged for me. Like I said, I enjoyed the first sort of 15 to 30 minutes of it, and then it started really dragging. And like I said, by the end, they've pretty much, for me, undone all of the good they did with 2016. We're back to supernatural Michael Myers, and fine. I guess I'll see the next one. I don't really care though anymore. Like, and I feel bad because a lot of my friends really like this movie, and
the trailer kind of said that to me.
I think, like you said, we both said, "What are they doing?" Because they should have just ended it with the last movie. That was fine.
Yeah, but obviously they want to make more money.
Well, that's exactly what they wanted to do with the Halloween series in the past, and that's why we ended up in the mess we ended up in. So to come along and erase it and be like, well, those are all a mistake.
That they continued it from the same day, which is exactly what they did in the second.
Yeah, well, and a lot of it takes place in a hospital too.
Oh man, really?
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do that if you want to distance yourself from the sequels? Do something else.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just bizarre.
I've also heard that Michael seems to be overly brutal in this one.
Yeah, I mean, the kills are cool. I mean, if you want a gore fest, you're going to get it. There are a lot of really gory kills, but it goes, again, and you may have a different opinion on this. I'm not gonna. I mean, I own every Halloween movie. I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on Halloween or the character of Michael Myers, but Michael Myers, to my mind, never really. I don't want to say he didn't take pleasure in killing people, but he just killed people in the most efficient way possible. He just went around stabbing and murdering people.
It's literally, it almost just feels like it felt like it was just a compulsion.
Yes. In this film, he's sadistic, and it feels like he's going out of his way to be as sadistic and brutal as possible, and prolonging people's suffering for as long as possible, which for me feels against character. But that's like me.
A Freddy thing, isn't it? That's like
it's like, it's very brutal. But if that's what you're going for, you'll certainly get that. I think it's pretty well directed. The soundtrack's great, obviously. Not really a surprise there. But yeah, overall, I'm afraid I cannot get behind this one. I thought the pacing was off. It felt like it went on far too long, even though it clearly didn't, because I'm looking at the running time here. It's not a long movie, but it felt like it. Weird messaging, and basically, like I said, immediately they've made the mistakes of the sequels that they seem to try and erase in the first place. So it all feels utterly pointless to me.
I'm sure doesn't Laurie say that, like, he gets stronger with every kill or something? It's like, okay.
So that's basically what they've ended the movie with. They've changed the original ending was slightly different, but basically they added all that in. And part of what she says, it's just basically, he's supernatural. He just keeps every time he kills, he gets stronger. But now you're in this situation where they're like, okay. So the original plan was that he would die that night. Now they've said 4 years later, whatever they've said. Okay, fine. But now we're in this problem where it's like, the next movie's the last movie, and Michael Myers, that's going to be the end of the series. And I'm like, yeah, but you've made him supernatural now, so there's nothing you can do that's going to convince me that he's dead. Nothing. Well, because he's supernatural. And
if he gets stronger with every kill, he's like, okay, then he's just going to be unkillable.
We're in the Friday the 13th situation now, where it's like, whatever you do in the next movie, I'm not going to believe he's dead because he's supernatural. He can just come back. Like, it's just, you've
completely incinerate every molecule.
But even then, you're like, he'll probably just inhabit someone's body, or, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I almost thought that's where this film was going at one point. I actually thought that that Tommy Doyle was going to snap and end up putting the mask on and becoming the next Michael Myers, but they didn't go that way.
is he the kid that Laurie's babysitting in the first one?
Yes, I believe so. I forget. The kids confuse me in the first one. I don't really remember their names, but yeah, I think he is. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because he's played by Anthony Michael Hall in this, isn't he?
Oh, he's great. The performance is fine. It's he's working the best with what he's been given. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm glad so many people seem to have enjoyed it. But yeah, I was not.
I'm not going to go. I will watch it eventually, but I'm not going out of my way.
I'd be curious to see what you think of it. I mean, like I said, it's reasonably well directed and shot and whatnot in places, but yeah, it felt really bizarre to have done all you've done in the last movie to now do this again. It's like, okay.
The thing that the first. I said I could fall into the same trap as you. The thing that the first
2016,
reboot, the 2018, the 2018 movie did that I thought was quite good was that it actually did feel like a decent sequel. It set up, the Laurie character was really well set up. I liked the.
Honestly, if you lose the fucking
retarded over it and that sort of stuff, that was all great.
Yeah, if you lose the fucking stupid doctor bits in that movie where the doctor takes Michael to Haddonfield, get rid of that, and I think that's a great movie, great sequel.
Yeah, and I think it kind of should have just ended with them trapping him in the cellar and burning him to death.
That felt like the end. To me, that was fine.
To me, I think that would have been a satisfying ending. To be honest,
I was. Well, that is going to be the ending in my headcanon. That's fine. I'm happy.
Well, I imagine they're going to kill each other, aren't they?
Probably, but then Michael Myers is apparently immortal, so it doesn't matter. He's still going to continue, isn't he? Like Harry. Like I said, and unless you're going to go with like even more, lean heavily even more into the silly sequels where it's like, oh, you need the source of his power, and
that's
fine.
You need to find Paul Bearer and get his urn.
Yeah. Well, we need to trick Michael Myers into coming to Camp Crystal Lake. Let them fight.
Oh, I totally watched that.
Yeah, so would I, to be fair. But so real misstep for me.
When in the 90s, there were so many rumors that there was going to be
Freddy versus Jason versus Michael
Myers movie
versus
we
Ash.
All, totally prayed for that movie to happen.
Oh, it would have been absolutely awful, but it would have been glorious.
Awful, yeah.
Gloriously awful.
Jason is bad. Is terrible, but enjoyable for its own.
Yeah, it's enjoyable for its own stupidity. There is a comic book series. They did do a comic book series with Ash versus all of them. Which I think is meant to be a sequel, but.
Yeah, I just love they kind of make Jason the hero, which is like.
Well, Jason's always had the tragic past, which somehow means it's okay for him to murder everyone.
I mean, okay. I guess for the most part, Jason at least waits till they're teenagers to kill them.
Yeah,
he wasn't just a child murdering kid.
I mean, it's very difficult, no matter how bad your teens are. It's very difficult to have a child killer as a protagonist. That's struggling there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it eventually. I'm not going to go out of my way.
I'd be curious to see what you think of it, and I'm glad so many people have enjoyed it. But yeah, I really couldn't. I'm glad other people are saying the same, because all I've seen is people praise it. Certainly amongst my friends, anyway.
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard some people really disliking it.
Yeah,
but like you said, I've also heard some. It's obviously a divisive.
It's clearly, and each to their own. Supernatural Michael Myers is not for me. I think there's enough supernatural slashers. Don't need another one. I always thought it was, and I think John Carpenter always said that as far as he was concerned, it was supernatural too, which is cool. But for me, Michael Myers was never more scary than when he was just a man with a knife.
I mean, to be fair, in the original, he does get shot a lot.
Oh no, he does, but
does get back up.
That's why the end, the fact that there was ever a sequel is ridiculous. It's like I can believe that he's just about holding on to. I can suspend my disbelief so far to get to the end of that movie, but after that, it's like, no, come on, It's a great ending scene where Loomis looks out the window and he sees the body's gone. Yeah. But like, you know, in my mind, he just got round the corner and collapsed and died. You know, he hadn't survived. Like, you know, but yeah, like you said, it's always been kind of ridiculous, but yeah, it kind of felt like they were trying to ground it with the last movie, and now it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's definitely a better sequel than the original first sequel, because that movie's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, we've always argued it should have gone the way of Season of the Witch. That should have been what they did every year. But
yeah,
you know,
I mean, Season of the Witch, brings up venom in people. Some people.
I love Season of the Witch.
I love Season of the Witch. It's because you can't put that in with the other Halloween movies. It's not. It's just not that. And
no, they watch Halloween on the TV in that movie.
It's a Halloween movie. It's like, it's not a Halloween movie. It really isn't.
But
it says it is, but it's not.
No, they literally watch Halloween on the TV during that film. Yeah. It does not take place in the same universe. But that was kind of I'm a big fan of anthology, horror, anthology, anything, and I think, you know, I would still be watching. Well, I guess I am still watching Halloween movies to this day. But you know, I would happily have seen a series. They just did another different creepy story each Halloween called Halloween. That would have been like a Halloween series. But never mind. So, what else have you been watching, Matt?
So
I guess it's the last of the Blums.
It's the last of the Blums, yeah. Madre, I think it's pronounced. I'm sorry, Madre, I don't speak Spanish.
Hang on a minute. Did Jason Blum... Was Blumhouse involved in Night Teeth? Have we just done a completely... Because Blumhouse are bloody involved in Halloween Kills as well. Have we just done like a completely Blumhouse show? I don't know.
The first movie you watched, the show wasn't.
Oh, that's true. Okay. We're good. So anyway, Madre.
So this is directed by Ryan Zaragoza, starring Ariane Guerrera, Tenoch Huerta, and it's set in the 70s in California in the 70s, and it's a Mexican couple, Mexican American. So the husband is he's only been in, I think, America for 5 years or so. His English is good, but he speaks perfect Spanish. He's more sort of Mexicanized than anglicized or Americanized. Whereas his wife, Diana, she grew up in California, and her parents were punished for speaking Spanish, so they never taught their children. So she doesn't really speak Spanish. Uh-huh. Her Spanish is very poor, and she's pregnant, and they move into this farming. They're moving to this farming community in rural California, which is it's mostly immigrants, and while she's there, there seems to be something that's there's like a curse that's there, and pregnant women are losing their babies. There's like this almost like a disease that seems to be only affecting the women, and the house that they've moved into belonged to this woman who seems to be haunting them. She seemed to have been a pregnant mother herself, and she you don't know what happened to her. No one will explain what happened. What happened to this woman? Whether even that she's dead at first. I think they just don't want to speak of her. And they go to this shop where this woman is. She's into the sort of the mystical stuff. She says, "Oh, you must have protection. You must, let me give you a blessing. Let me give you these beads." And Diana, she's quite rational. She's like, "No, I don't need any of this. I'm not, You know, I don't speak Spanish. I don't do any of that sort of stuff. And she's kind of ostracized in this community because there's they have this sort of barbecue, and of course everybody there speaks Spanish, and they're like, oh, you know, she's slightly lighter skinned than they are, so they're treating her like she's this rich white girl, and you know, one of them takes the piss out of her, sort of thing, and she understands enough Spanish to know that they're taking the piss out of her, and it sort of goes on to there seems to be a sort of weird conspiracy going on. There is stuff. Maybe the pesticides are doing something. You know, maybe it's the pesticides that are thing. So, right, what I will say is this movie is not a horror movie.
Sure.
This movie does a complete and utter bait and switch on you.
Oh no.
It is a social thriller.
Right.
With ghosts, basically, with supernatural elements.
Okay.
This movie, I mean, I don't know whether I'm going to have to spoil it. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to have to spoil this movie. This movie is not about any sort of like hauntings really at all. It's nothing about like that. It's not that. What this movie is a social comment about what Americans were doing to immigrants in the 70s. They were sterilizing them.
Right.
And this movie, and at the end, you have a full-on political statement about Americans doing like eugenics, basically. Mm-hmm. So this, it's a beautifully shot movie. It has a very nice 70s feel. For the main actress is great. Most of the performances are great. But this is not what I was expecting.
No.
They're selling this as a horror movie, and it's not. It's not. I think it's going to piss a lot of people off because
it's not what they were sold as.
No, it's, if anything, it's almost. I mean, it says at the beginning, based on a true story,
right?
And it tells you about these. You know, this actually, what happens to these women is, you know, they're pregnant. They're about to have the babies, and because they don't speak English very well, they don't read English. They're tricked into signing sterilization forms.
Right.
So in that respect, yes, it's a fucking genuine horror story.
Sure. Yeah.
This is a real thing, but they're selling this as a horror movie.
So is it a good movie though? Like, misrepresentation aside,
it's long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's long. It's it's like an hour 20. But it fucking dragged. It honestly, it was one of those movies where I was like, is this movie fucking over yet? Because this is just dragging. There's even within the sort of the horror elements themselves, it's like you could see what was coming. You knew what was happening.
Yeah.
You knew that this. I am gonna fuck it. I'm spoiling it.
Okay.
The ghost is actually there. It's trying to warn her. It's not.
Right.
It's not haunting her because it's evil
or
or it's a curse. It's actually this doctor and like the people that he knows. They're doing this to the immigrants, you know. So there's that, and it's if it wanted to tell that story, it should have done it in a documentary, or it should have been up front at the beginning that's the story it was telling, I think.
Yeah.
Because by selling it as a horror movie, I think you're doing a disservice to the actual story.
Sure.
The thing that you're trying to tell should be told.
Absolutely.
People should know about it.
Yeah.
It's a fucking horrible, shitty fucking thing that you hear happening, or you know. And you know this has gone on.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. Yes, you should tell that story, but tell that story. Don't, say, oh, this is just a horror story about this haunting and this curse in this like small town, and then try and make it a serious fucking message about people that were the real people that this happened to. They tried to sue the hospital and they lost.
Right.
It's horrible.
It's horrendous. Yeah.
Awful, genuinely evil fucking thing. But I think by passing it off as a horror movie, you're doing a disservice to it.
Yeah.
You're not trivializing it really, but you're all you're doing is you're making people, feel like they've wasted their time because they were settling down for a horror movie, and what they got was a sort of almost documentary drama. So it's not a bad movie. Like I said, it's well shot.
Yeah,
it's well acted, but it's not what it says it is, and it's hard to sort of justify that as a because it's like I said, it's if they wanted to do that, then it should have been that. But by doing that, I mean, repeating myself now, it just seems to trivialize it, and it just makes it bad by doing that. I think.
That's a real shame, because obviously, like you said, the story and the message here is very important. But by building it up as something that it's not, people are going to go away angry, when really, if you'd been honest, you would have got the right audience. I would have watched a movie about this. It sounds horrendous, but interesting. And something I'd want to see. But if I, like you said, if I'm settling down for Halloween to watch a horror movie, and I get that, I'm going to be a bit annoyed.
It's not at all what you expect. It's because the thing is I don't want to slag the movie off because
it's well made,
because of what it's doing. It's just how they do it and how they've set it up is what annoys me. It's just you just trivialized it. Not trivialized it, but it's hard to explain. It's just what should have been one thing is this, and it's not, and they went about it completely wrong, I think.
That's a real shame.
If it would have been, I mean, maybe they wanted to trick people into knowing about it. If that was their aim, then okay, more people know about it now. But those people,
those people might have, like I said, especially when you've released it at Halloween, like this might be people's Halloween movie choice, and then they'll be like, oh, this is not actually a horror movie for our Halloween. It's not going to do great.
It's genuinely harrowing.
I mean, yes, absolutely. I don't want to understate the importance of what's happened.
But that's it. I think that's the underlying problem, is that it's a genuine horror, but not a horror movie, if that makes sense. It's about an actual, real event that is horrific and truly diabolical. It's not a horror movie. It's not fucking it's not Halloween or any of the other Blumhouse movies in this set. No. It's not that. And I think it does itself a disservice by doing that.
Oh, there was one like this last time. I can't remember the name of it. There was another one in this Blumhouse group, and we were like, "This isn't really a horror movie at all."
The last one, there was a couple that there was two that weren't proper horror.
I'm thinking one that I saw. I don't think I saw all of them.
There was one that was I really liked. It wasn't a horror movie. It was more of a thriller, a psychological thriller than anything else. The Lie, I think it was called. which is about a girl who basically kills her friend.
Yeah.
And then makes lies about it and stuff. Yeah, it was a great movie, not a horror movie, but it was
a good movie. Yeah.
Well, this is it's a weird one. It's a I want to say good things about it because it was well made, it was well acted, but it is what it is. It's not. It's completely missold. I mean, it's kind of like when they missell movies like Crimson Peak or something like that. That movie was sold as a horror movie, but it's not. It's a gothic romance. This is different because it's a fucking genuine thing. It's about a real event, and that just feels like it's cheapened it.
Yeah, that's a real shame. Anyway, let's go from something serious to just slagging off DC. Did you watch the DC Fandome? The dumbest name for a fucking thing ever.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? I did. I saw bits of it. I didn't.
Yeah, no one watched all of it. I mean, come on. No. Not unless like YouTube, you're getting paid to stream it on YouTube. No one watched it, the full thing.
No, I did watch I've watched the trailers. That was enough. So shall we start with Batman?
Which one? Do you want Batman,
or do you want
Batman? Because actual Batman. Okay, the Batman. Batman. As opposed to Michael Keaton's Batman featuring the Flash. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, the Batman. I touched on it briefly on the X-Curse with Luke. Actually, very briefly. Well, what did you think of it? Let's start with you. Let's just do that. Let's do that.
So, do you know what annoys me the most is at some point we were promised, at some point in the distant past, we were promised that this Batman movie would be about Batman being a detective.
That was the main selling point of this film for me.
Yeah.
I'm throwing that out there now. That was
a more grounded movie about him being a detective.
Wanted more Bruce Wayne, more Batman being a detective, because Batman has been historically... Sorry, I was just going to say historically, right? Yeah. If there's one phrase associated with Batman in the whole of comics history, it is the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
So we were finally going to get that.
I mean, it's in the fucking title of one of his comics.
Yeah. So then we get this trailer.
And then you get him walking into a hail of bullets. Literally walking towards two machine guns.
Do you know, it's one of the problem is as well, it's like, it's really dumb. They already did that scene in Dark Knight Rises, which is not a good film, but they did it in that scene, and Batman was being stealthy, like sensible Batman would be. It's like, it's a great image, but the physics just fucking that's Iron Man does that.
Yep.
It just feels silly. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing?
I don't know how much fucking armor he's got on.
No.
Unless he's literally wearing an Iron Man suit.
An Iron Man suit, yeah. It's you're still...
Or the Superman killer suit. Unless he's wearing that.
I mean, what is he meant to be wearing?
He's going to fucking feel those bullets.
Is he meant to be wearing fucking Kevlar or something? Because you'll still get fucking hurt. It will still knock you back. I mean, Jesus Christ, he doesn't even get knocked off his feet. The force of a bullet is, come on.
And to me, it kind of just looked like another Nolan movie.
Well, this is right. So this is the problem, and I think I did mention this briefly on the Extras. The problem for me, right, and this is a problem I have with Nolan's films and this film, is that Batman's fucking ridiculous. It's stupid. It's about a billionaire who dresses up like a bat and beats up people and solves crimes. It's dumb, right? That's fine. That's the conceit, and I'm down with it. My problem is, and I had this problem with the Nolan trilogy, I have a problem with this one as well, as soon as you try to ground something that ridiculous, everything in that film becomes stupid. It's like Dark Knight Rises, right? I don't think that's a very good film. I think it's got massive issues. How did he get from the desert to Gotham? All of that stuff, right? All of those problems I wouldn't care about if it was set in Michael Keaton's Batman world where it's all just fantasy and silly. But when you tell me, we're going to be super grounded, then, why is this fucking, tank meant to jump over like caverns to make bridges, and bridging vehicles exist, but not like this. This is dumb, right?
I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the Nolan Batman movies anyway.
I like the first two. I know you're not like a huge fan, but I do have this problem where it's like you're trying to ground it and it just comes across really silly, because once you ground it, I then have logical questions that immediately come in. And I do with this one as well, even more so. Is like that explosion that he drives what looks like a normal car through. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it all looks cool. It looks well shot. It's Matt Reeves, great director.
It looks, and so, you know, the performances look great, but this isn't the movie we were promised.
No, and like you said, it looks like Nolan again, right? Like they're talking about this film as if grounded Batman is revolutionary, and it's like, did you forget the last three films that you did? Like, or not the last three, but you know, the Nolan trilogy.
When is it that these you know, the people that are doing these movies, what comics are they reading?
I don't know.
It's like Batman's basically a ninja.
Yes.
Apparently
he's Iron Man now.
Well, yeah. He's basically a detective ninja. He fights people from the shadows.
Yeah, I mean, if he was wearing the Superman suit from Batman v Superman, then I'd be like, cool, okay. I guess he can just walk into fire like that. No worries.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's, like you said, he's meant to be a ninja. He's meant to be stealthy. He's meant to be a detective. We're seeing none of that.
No.
I love Robert Pattinson, by the way. I really do, and I think he'll make a tremendous Batman.
That's the most annoying thing, because I think Pattinson is a great actor, and everything they're showing us in this movie is bad. It is what they're showing you what people have been expecting from Robert Pattinson. They have been expecting a mopey, fucking miserable, fucking Twilight Twinkie fucking character, and
they just
Robert Pattinson has moved away from that. He can fucking act, but all they're showing is this fucking depressing Batman.
Can we also talk about the Riddler basically being exactly like Heath Ledger's Joker and getting himself arrested exactly like Heath Ledger's Joker, and Batman confronting him in jail exactly like flipping Nolan's Batman did with Heath Ledger's Joker?
It's a Nolan movie.
It's bizarre. It's such a bizarre decision. And also, I'm hoping it's just for the trailer, but the bit with the cup and the question mark felt like that was from like Schumacher's Batman, not like. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're doing a grounded movie, but why did he draw a question mark in his cup?
Do you know what? At this point, I'd almost wish that they'd have done a Schumacher Batman. It's like,
oh, I'd watch it.
Can we just?
I will tell you this. I think
the thing is they don't have to do 60s Batman to make it.
No, Keaton's Batman was campy. Well, look, I still maintain I think that Ben Affleck was a fine Batman. I've said that. Not commenting on the movies, but the actual portrayal
was seriously fucked over.
Yeah,
this movie should have been his.
Yeah, and also
what we should have got was his. We should have got his movie. Because they totally wanted to get rid of the Snyderverse.
I guess they have. Kind of.
So, they were never going to. By the time they got to that point, we were never going to see a decent Batman movie from them.
No.
And what they promised with this was completely removed from all of that. It wasn't going to be like Nolan movies. It wasn't going to be like the Snyder movies. It was going to be its own thing. It was going to be, a more detective based. And no, that's not what they're showing us at all.
No, not remotely. It's really strange. I'm gonna watch it. I think the casting looks great. I think what's her name? Is it Zoe something or other playing?
Zoe Kravitz.
She seems great. I love who they've got to play Gordon. He's fantastic.
Yeah, Jeffrey Wright is fantastic.
Robert Pattinson, fantastic. I think
I've heard a lot of people having a problem with Andy Serkis's
Alfred. No, I'm all about that. I think that's tremendous casting. I don't understand
why that's a problem.
No, I think that's great casting.
A lot of people. One thing that I do agree with, what I have heard people say, is Serkis would have made a better Penguin.
Oh yeah, he would have made an amazing Penguin. Although I honestly think
kind of agree with that.
I don't know. I think Colin's doing a great job in the trailer. I don't dislike it, but we'll see. It, like you said, it's weird to me. I was quite impressed with the first trailer, but this one not so much. It just feels like you said. It feels like Nolan again, but we're doing that thing that everyone's been doing for the last 3 years, where everything that comes out is somehow revolutionary, even though things have come before it that did exactly the same. We just pretend like those things never happened, and suddenly it's amazing.
Remember those movies? No, you don't, because they never happened.
They never happened. They're all fake.
And this movie is revolutionary.
Yeah, this is the first ever grounded Batman movie, and ignore all of the Nolan trilogy because that didn't happen. This one's the revolutionary one. We're not making the same shit again, honestly. So anyway, that's enough about one Batman movie. Let's talk about the other Batman movie that's got the Flash in it for 5 seconds.
Oh God.
See, I'm enjoying myself now. I'm enjoying myself too much.
You know what was great though? So, I obviously you're going to watch this trailer anyway because of what it is.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you heard Michael Keaton, I was like, oh, Michael Keaton, fantastic. Because we know he's going to be in it. We know,
he's the star of it, I think, based on the trailer.
Hearing him speak was like,
it was great.
Thank fuck, he really is in it. It was kind of like. It was like the actual confirmation you needed was actually to hear him speak. And it's like, oh, thank God, he really is in it.
We're okay. He's here, guys. He's here. I mean, it's I love Michael Keaton. He's one of my favorite actors. I always said, it's funny, I think I said on a show previously that we always used to say on the movie show back in the BSR radio days, we always used to say Michael Keaton doesn't get enough work. Now he does. He gets enough work now. He's in everything.
God, it's taken a bloody while, but
it has. But he's a tremendous actor, and I have a massive soft spot for his portrayal of Batman and that whole world. So I'm excited to go and see that again.
Batman Returns, I don't care what anybody says, it's still my favourite Batman movie.
Yeah, and fair enough. I think it's...
And that's not...
Yeah, it might be mine, actually, to be fair. It might be mine.
Movie.
Yeah.
There are plenty of problems with that movie, and I understand people don't like that movie. I adore that movie. I think it's fucking brilliant. That and his first one are
I was going to say, I think for me, if I had to pick a movie, it's not an animated movie, because I think their animated movies have probably been the best. But if we're talking live action, I think the first Keaton movie might edge it out for me. Just because, Jack Nicholson's so good as well. No, those movies are great, and like I said, they're ridiculous. They take place in a ridiculous world, and they had no problem with Batman killing people, because Batman clearly kills people all the time. Let's just get over that, especially if you're going to ground it. Come on.
Yeah.
These people probably die, or at least are crippled for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks fine. I want to see Michael Keaton's Batman, but at the same time, it's like that whole trailer was just like, hey, remember Batman? Remember the Batmobile? Remember his... he's just like the whole... is it even... I can't... It kind of amazed me. It was so Batman-centric that by the time it got to the end and it came up with The Flash is the name of the film, I was like, really though? Because it kind of feels like it's the Batman featuring Flash.
What I think was...
They could have called it Flashpoint. That would have made sense, because then it's like, okay, the Flash starts it,
but... you haven't called it Flashpoint.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is basically Flashpoint.
I think the biggest problem I have with this film, I really don't like Ezra Miller's Flash, and I don't want to watch a movie of him. He's
not Barry Allen.
He's Barry Allen twice in this. I got to watch him twice.
Oh, well, so I heard, I can't remember who said it, but I completely agree with this sentiment, which is, it took Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton's Batmans to make me interested.
Yeah, it really did.
The Ezra Miller.
It legitimately did. It legitimately did. So,
I mean, that also was like, it's like, oh God, there's more than one Ezra Miller. fuck?
No, there's 2 of them.
And also, what was that fucking that introduction he gave?
That was like, that was fucking.
Are you really are trying to put people off, aren't you? You're doing your best to be as weird and freaky as you possibly can to put off anybody who has any interest in this.
Yeah. That was Phantom Menace, wasn't it? No, there are 2 of them. Yeah, it's I'll watch it because Keaton.
Of course, we're gonna bloody watch it. It's got Michael Keaton's Batman in it.
I could have really done without the fucking the Batmobile at the end. I'm like,
we didn't actually see it.
Well, but it's obvious what it is. Come on.
Yeah, of course it is.
And it's like you guys, you know that version was destroyed, right? Like literally in Batman Returns, like it falls apart. We're just ignoring that for the sake of fan service now. Okay. Well, this film is just fan service.
Hey, it's been a long time. He's had a lot of time to fix that car.
Hey, it has been a long time, and he had like progressively more penis-shaped cars after that. Are we ignoring? I guess maybe we're ignoring. I
think
the other ones.
Anything that came after Batman Returns
just doesn't exist in your world.
Well, it's not that it doesn't exist. They exist in their own thing. I think Schumacher's world and Burton's world are separate entities.
Yeah, I agree. They should be. I have a soft spot for I think like Batman and Robin is one of the worst films, but my god is it entertaining to watch because it's just hilariously bad. But it's maybe that's what they're doing. It's very in vogue, isn't it, with Halloween and Halloween 2 and all that, just to kind of ignore sequels. So I guess maybe that's what they're doing. It's definitely to be a nerd here. It's definitely the Batman Returns Batsuit. I can tell that from where it's being thrown on the floor. I can see it's the Returns, not the original Batsuit, because it's got the raised, elevated bat symbol on it and stuff. So I reckon it is the Returns suit, which is the better suit. I like that suit.
Yeah.
So Returns presumably happened, just not anything else.
The other thing that this makes me want is I just want Keaton's Batman to be the Batman of the future. Batman.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if they're going to do that, if I'm honest, because apparently he's going to be around as like a Nick Fury character, is the rumor, isn't it? After this.
Well, yeah. I mean, what's this? Is it something Cruise? Isn't it from Batman of the Future?
Terry?
Terry? Was it Terry Crews?
No, it's Terry something. Terry McGinnis.
Terry McGinnis, not Terry Crews. That's me.
Maybe you thought Terry and then thought Cruz, like some, something in your
right,
subconscious made that connection.
Yeah. So why didn't they do that? I love the idea of them doing having him as the mentor and having because they keep talking about replacing Batman and stuff, and that story did it well.
Yeah, and I have a real soft spot for Batman of the Future. I'd love to see a Batman of the Future movie. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love that. So that was that. Is there anything else you want to know about?
Black Adam.
Oh, Black Adam looks awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks cool. I didn't really know Black Adam, but I thought it looked quite brutal. I was like, oh, okay, we're obviously The Rock looks like he could rip someone's head off, so that's fine. I thought that looked great.
I was happy we got the briefest glimpses of Dr. Fate.
Yes, yeah.
I love Dr. Fate. I think he's one of my favorite DC characters.
And it's like Pierce Brosnan made a great Bond. He's a great protagonist, but he's so much better as a villain. Yeah.
I sometimes now I can't help think of him from World's End.
Oh yeah.
The amiable professor.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, I always think of him from Mrs. Doubtfire when I think of him. It's always because he's that smarmy asshole in that movie who actually does nothing wrong. He's actually just a really nice guy. But we're supposed to side. We're supposed to side with Robin Williams' character, even though Robin Williams' character is a complete asshole the whole way through the movie.
Yeah, he's an utter dick.
He is. She leaves him because she's working all day, and he just spends money frivolously and acts like a jackass and does nothing to help the kids.
Yeah.
And then we're meant to feel sorry for him. And then he nearly poisons Pierce Brosnan's character, who literally does nothing. He's just a really nice guy. There's no ulterior motive or anything. He's just a nice guy.
No.
He's being quite nice. But anyway, we're digressing. Looking forward to Black Adam. That looks cool.
Yeah, fine, cool.
I mean, I am,
And we got a Shazam sequel.
Well, I must admit, I know I've said before I'm superheroed out, and I am. But Shazam was a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed Shazam. I really enjoyed Shazam. So I will watch that sequel.
Yeah.
This is the thing now. I'm at the point where I don't care about superhero movies, but they're finding the odd thing to pull me back. Like Keaton's Batman, yeah, okay, you've got me there.
Yeah, exactly.
Fine.
I'm completely now worried.
And Shazam, a Shazam sequel.
Turned off about the Batman. I think that trailer did not make me want to go.
Could just be the trailer. I'm going to see.
It's a bad trailer.
I think I'm going to wait to hear the hype and buzz around it when it comes out before I make a decision on that one.
Yeah.
Was there anything else? Aquaman's a thing. I noticed the Aquaman trailer's a thing. That was.
Yeah. Again, it's like, yeah, okay. I liked Aquaman as well.
Yeah, it was alright.
I'll probably watch the sequel.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out of my way.
There's a lot of noisy CGI on screen for 2 hours. It's fine.
Which is great in its own way.
I remember kind of enjoying the ending where they were just like, yeah, we're just gonna go all out. There's like underwater sea dragons and God knows what. I was like, oh, fine, why not? And people are riding giant like seahorses and it's like, cool, why not? Go crazy, guys.
I mean, that's kind of what you want from an Aquaman movie.
Well, I guess really. It is. Yeah, I've never really wanted an Aquaman movie, but I guess that is what I wanted.
That's it. I mean, let's face it. Jason Momoa's character is pretty much far removed from how most people see Aquaman.
Oh yeah, they did that on purpose because Aquaman is a joke.
Based on that time in the 90s when he had like the trident for a hand.
He's like the edgiest of edgelords now. Is Aquaman? He's so edgy. Yeah, why not? Why not? Good fun.
No, I think
So I think we've just shit all over DC fandom dome.
Yeah, which is oh god.
Never mind.
I've said it so many times, and I will say it again. It breaks my heart because I've always been a DC person.
Sure.
And it breaks my heart that DC have never gotten their fucking act together, and they keep making the same stupid mistakes, and they keep cocking up their own universe.
Yeah.
When they just done, if they'd have just
they had their shit together in the the 70s and 80s. So
yeah.
Well, for a while, I guess Superman quickly went off the rails, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We had a couple of good movies there. If
they'd have just waited and been patient instead of trying to do it now, we want our franchise now. Then it would have been so much better, but they didn't want to do the Marvel thing. They didn't want to build it up because they already wasted time.
Yeah.
There are Marvel characters I love, but I was never a massive Marvel fan. I love the X-Men. I love Doc Strange.
Sure.
And the other one. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the Marvel movies. I do like most of the Marvel movies. I am a fan of the Marvel movies. But I've always been a DC guy, and it's like,
you're just not getting the DC you wanted.
No,
I think it's I just don't. I'm very much superheroed out. So I'm finding the whole thing just. I'm not even like upset. I'm just like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
But I mean, if there was comics that I could be like, I want a new movie of that, it would be 2000 AD stuff probably for me, because that was what I read as a kid, was 2000 AD for the most part. And then Batman was the second to that. And X-Men, but everyone read the bloody X-Men when they were a teenager. That's just just the way of things.
90s X-Men was, I will say everybody was reading 90s X-Men, but most comics people were reading 90s X-Men.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was. I mean, it's the iteration that it's. There's like two iterations that everybody remembers the most, and it's the original, team of Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast,
Angel,
and Iceman.
Yeah.
there's that sort of, there's those, and then there's the 90s with Rogue,
the cartoon series.
Yeah, the cartoon series, the cartoon iteration. And, you know, I wish that they would just do that. Just do the 90s version.
I'm really surprised in this age of cheap nostalgia that they haven't just done that. I feel like Disney might do that, you know.
In terms of how things are right now, it's they call it problematic. They don't want it like that. They want new versions of those things, and the person they've got in charge of the X-Men stuff is an activist. So
okay, well, I mean, X-Men's pretty diverse. They've got quite a diverse cast of characters.
They put a woman in charge of X-Men for the Marvel Universe who has a problem with the very term X-Men.
Okay.
So that tells you.
I'm so glad I don't really care about any of this stuff.
Yeah,
it's all very bemusing to me. Why are you making an X-Men show if you have a problem even with the term X-Men? What are they going to call it then?
The Mutants.
The Mutants. But isn't there a group called the Mutants? I mean, the Marvel Universe is like...
It's the New Mutants.
Yeah. Isn't that going to get a bit confusing?
Or the Gifted or something, I don't know.
Oh, what did they call them actually? No, because they called Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver something else, didn't they? I can't think what they were. The Gifted. It was the Gifted or something like that, wasn't it?
Gifted Miracles or something?
The Miracles. Yeah, called them all Miracles.
They're Miracles.
Hey, Wolverine. Yeah, quick, there's going to be a fight. You know, get your adamantium miracles out. Let's go. Let's go. Use that miracle healing factor.
I mean, that sounds like something entirely different.
Cyclops, shoot them with your miracle lasers. Oh, God, I remember playing that fucking RPG back in the day. There was an RPG, I think it was Marvel. It was Marvel. A Marvel RPG. Years and years and years ago. Like 80s, I want to say. Maybe it was 90s.
Yeah.
And it was like the dullest thing to play ever. Because you quickly realize that the X-Men are just one thing. So you start playing the game and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be Cyclops. It's going to be really cool. And then it's like, just shooting with my eye laser. That's all I'm going to fucking do because that's all that Cyclops does. So now I'm in a team and you're like, great. I scratch it with my claws. I shoot it with a laser.
I did play that.
I played it briefly.
Champions was probably the best.
Champions was great.
Role-playing game.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fake off-brand ones where you could kind of make the character that you wanted to play as, they were way better than the official ones. But yeah. Anyway, is there anything else you want to complain about before we stop? I feel like we've been like super negative for the most part today, but it's not my fault. It's just I didn't mind. Night Thief was all right.
Yeah.
There you go. It was all right.
From this week, for me, the show was the best thing I've seen. So
yeah, I might give that a go. It sounds quite good. It sounds
fun. We talked about it just before we started. The first picture released for the Munsters, the Rob Zombie Munsters.
Oh yes. He's surprise at the casting. Yeah.
surprise. He's cast Sherry as Lily.
Yeah.
And do you know what? As I said to you, I genuinely didn't even think about it.
The first thought that came to my mind.
As soon as I saw the picture, I was like, oh, well, of fucking course he did.
The moment he announced
I have thought anything else?
Yeah, dude, the moment he announced it, I was like, clearly I know who's going to be Lily. Like,
yeah. I should have. It should have been fucking obvious.
But you know what? It's not terrible casting. I'm sure it'll be fine. No,
I think
it'll be fine.
She's not a bad actress at all. I mean, I understand people have a serious problem with them, and her MDB page has got has posted something that's obviously got a problem with her.
Yeah, which is weird because it's a lot of effort to amend IMDb pages. As someone who's made 2 before, it's a lot of work. So someone had a real grudge there to go to that much trouble, and I'm surprised it got approved as well. But never mind.
It might disappear after a while.
It may disappear, yeah.
Well, I thought the picture they look like the actual monsters.
They do. I think Rob Zombie's a huge fan, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. I think it. I love the monsters, and to see the attention to detail that he's gone into with Mockingbird Lane, it's like this guy really means to do well here. I'm excited to see it. I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go.
What was quite funny, I said when I said to my wife that I said, oh, I said, obviously, I said, he's cast Sherry as Lily. And she said, oh, is Captain Spaulding Grandpa? And I was like,
he would have been.
You know what?
He would have been.
Sadly, he's dead. But I think if he was alive, he probably would have been.
Do you know what? Sid Haig would have been a brilliant grandpa.
Sid Haig would have been a really cool grandpa.
I would have. They could have pulled that off for sure. Yeah.
The guy that they've cast, Dan Roebuck, he's in so many things. No,
yeah.
Not Dan Roebuck.
He looks the part though. The guy they've cast.
Yeah.
He does. He looks good.
Perfect. And that guy, Daniel Roebuck. He's been in so many things. It's like almost everybody will have seen him before. He's been in a lot of of stuff. And the guy they've got is Jeff Daniel Phillips is Herman. He's been in loads of his previous movies.
Yeah.
So he's casted people he knows, but they look genuinely like the originals.
They look great, don't they? They really do.
It looks brilliant. So I'm kind of hopeful about that.
Yeah.
I've always preferred the Munsters to the Addams Family. Controversial, I know, but I'm happy.
I honestly can't decide between this. I have a love for both, and I can't decide.
Oh yeah, I love both, but the Munsters
depends on my mood, I guess. The
Munsters had vampires in it.
Yes, it definitely did. But yes, well, thank you for listening to this moany episode of. Actually, I don't know if it was that moany. If I feel like all I've done is moan for 2 hours, but that's fine.
Yep.
But thanks for listening, and next time we're continuing on with spooky season, and we've changed films. Not that we ever told you what film we were going to do, but we've changed films. We're now doing Hellraiser.
We are,
which I'm very excited to talk about because Hellraiser is a great movie. So yes, we will catch you next time.